Especially for this session I've made a presentation in order to talk a bit more in detail about the white paper. So let's look at the past and present of Operations Manager in particular. Operations Manager isn't a product which just came to be in the last years. As you can see, it already started in 2000 and it has grown ever since 2012 and even 2013. And to my belief, the development of this hasn't ended, and it's still an ever-growing product, gaining more speed, gaining more knowledge, and also gaining more ground on the monitoring aspect. When you look at 2000, Microsoft bought the product or bought the licenses of Operations Manager, and then they moved on to Operations Manager 2005. They changed the code a little bit, but still it was quite basic monitoring. And they said, well, we need or require a more holistic approach to it all. So they decided to write the code all over again. And in 2007 they introduced System Center Operations Manager 2007, the RTM edition. It certainly had its future and certainly had its promises, but it had many flaws as well. And soon in 2008 Service Pack 1 was released, and it already added many new features, but also stability to it. But to my opinion, the biggest change happened took place in 2009. Until then, Microsoft really wanted to position Operations Manager or SCOM as an enterprise monitoring solution, and they said, yes, there's more in the market besides Microsoft server operating systems. There is Linux, there's Unix as well, but we're not going to develop Linux or Unix support for it. That has to be done by third-party vendors. However, the third-party vendors didn't deliver the kind of quality Microsoft expected, and it was even so bad that it played down the overall experience by those very same customers of Operations Manager. They said SCOM is a bad product. But it wasn't bad, but just the quality of the monitoring of Unix, Linux was really bad. And therefore, on that day, pigs did fly in RedNet, because just a couple of years before, Steve Ballmer, known to be said that he would not allow Microsoft to develop Unix and Linux support. And then he said, we will only do it when pigs do fly. And that day pigs did fly, because Steve Ballmer gave the green light in order for Microsoft to develop built-in cross-platform support from Unix and Linux. And it has grown ever since. When you look at Operations Manager 2012, many changes have taken place as well. First of all, the RMS has gone, which is a very good achievement, but they also incorporated Epicode into the product. And Epicode is really a magnificent product, and before that it was an add-on or a standalone product actually, with a management pack, so you could integrate both products a little bit. But Epicode delivered a deep monitoring of APM or .NET based applications, allowing companies to have a good thorough look into the code itself and how it executed and how it worked on the client side, but also on the server side, down to the smallest SQL queries. And I've been in many customer relations, and they ask me, well, we are very interested in Epicode, can you give us a quote? But the quote never fall below the 100,000 euros. It was way too expensive. So all those companies said, well, in those engagements, it's too expensive. We will not use it, we will not buy it. So the good thing is it has been integrated into Operations Manager 2012, which is really a huge achievement. However, in order to do that, they had to break down so much code and to translate it to Operations Manager format that they had to make up their mind. They said, when we are going to translate it on a one-to-one basis, we will never get there on the RTM milestone, and it will never get integrated into the product. So on that moment, they decided to set part of the code aside and said we would pick it up and incorporate it in Service Pack 1, otherwise we won't get the RTM milestone soon already at time. And this is basically what happened. So when you look at Operations Manager 2012 Service Pack 1, released in February, January this year, they incorporated many more APM features. So APM is now on the same level or even further compared to Eficode was. So that's quite an achievement. But basically, when you look at Operations Manager, it's just a part of the whole System Center 2012 product. And yes, it consists still out of many different components with quite a steep learning curve. When you look at Virtual Machine Manager, look at Service Manager, Configuration Manager, those are really products which are very beefy and put a lot of weight into your organization. You really need to have those people in place with the knowledge and experience. But when you look at System Center, there's way much more going on. It's not just a product, but there's a vision behind it. And it has everything to do with the cloud. The cloud is not something which is just a marketing term or just some marketing mumbo-jumbo. It's really taking place. And when you look at Microsoft, Microsoft is finding itself in a very challenging situation. On one side, it's still selling licenses for its software like it did many years before. And yet they see the market is changing. They need to offer new solutions to their customers as well. So on one hand, they are creating new markets or taking away from other cloud vendors, but they're also cannibalizing their own markets. I spoke to a couple of Microsoft people in the Netherlands about a month ago, and they told me that they were competing internally with each other. One of those men was still selling the traditional licensing model, and he had to compete with his colleague who was selling the cloud equivalent of those same licenses. And they were really in a marketing fight for it. So it's quite special, working for the same company and yet cutthroat competition. And when you look at the way Microsoft is handling the cloud, they have many different offerings. They have also Platform as a Service, which is Azure. They also introduced quite recently Unix Linux systems into it. They have, of course, the Software as a Service, Office 365, Windows Intune, System Center Advisor. And when you look at the portfolio, it's even expanding as we speak. And not only that, but the quality and the development cycles are gaining speed as well. When you look at Office 365 and the way it's developed and the speed with it, it's quite enormous. I spoke with a couple of Microsoft people and they told me that they are going to ditch the version numbers for the cloud versions. It's just Office 365 and what's running behind it, it's not important anymore. And one of the reasons is that the development cycles is gaining so much speed, it's almost undoable to tell them what version the customer is using at this moment. So that's quite special. So when you take a look at System Center 2012 and you put it into the perspective of the private or the cloud and the private clouds also, Microsoft has developed itself a private cloud toolbox, or it's what I call a private cloud toolbox. And there are two key ingredients to it. And that is Windows Server 2012 and Microsoft System Center 2012. Those two products enable companies to create their own private clouds, and not only to create those clouds, but to run them, to monitor them, and just to get on grips with it. And so when you look at Windows Server 2012 and compare to System Center 2012, of course it's not equal, even though I say it here in the header of the slide. But there are huge things which do match with each other. When you look at the licensing model of Windows Server 2012 and compare to System Center 2012, they are exactly the same. They have ditched all the different SKUs for System Center, for instance, the old versions. You had about 200 plus SKUs. It was really a pain in the backside, excuse my French, but it was really hard for people or companies to get in grip with their licenses. Many times they were in breach even though they didn't want to, or they found themselves on the other side of the spectrum where they were paying way too much money, which is bad as well. So they brought it back to just on two stock keeping units, which are standard and data center. And what you see is that both license models offer the same functionality. So when you buy a license for System Center 2012, you're entitled to all the components which are part of this product. And when you look at Windows Server 2012, and that one is also very special, you buy the server with the same capabilities, the same server rules, the same server features. So when you look at Server 2008 or 2, Service Pack 1 and the previous versions before that, you only had, for instance, failover clustering available from the Enterprise editions up to Data Center. That is gone. So when you are designing an environment and you're running Windows Server 2012, bear this in mind. Windows Server 2012 Standard Edition also has exact the same features and the server rules available in the Data Center edition. So your question will be now, what's the difference? Well, the only difference is virtualization density. For instance, when you're running virtualization host with a low density of virtual machines running on top of it, and those virtual machines stay stable, for instance, they don't move on, fail over to another cluster, to another host, you could better do with a standard license. However, when that host is overcommitted or you are running many VMs on it and it makes part of a cluster running consisting out of multiple hosts, it's better to implement a data center license, because then you are entitled to an unlimited number of VMs running on top of that host. And when that host fails and the VMs go over to another host, you don't have to look at that host when that host is running the same data center license, because you're always in clear waters. Compared to the situation where you run a standard license, you have to count all the VMs and then look into administration whether that host is covered with all the proper licenses, and that's quite bad. And the same goes actually for System Center 2012, also the standard and the data center licenses. And the only difference again is the virtualization density. And for the standard license, you have to count the number of managed endpoints, or you have to count the number of CPUs running on those machines. You have to divide those numbers by 2, and for the highest number, you have to buy yourself licenses. And with the data center license, Microsoft says, well, you're running it on virtualization host. You cover the virtualization host with the licenses, with the data center license. You look only at the amount of CPUs, you divide it by 2, and for that number you buy yourself your data center licenses, and you're in clear waters. So that's quite a difference and makes it far more easier to use it. Whatever you have questions about this new licensing model, I've written a 5-series posting about it on my blog, all about the System Center 2012 licenses, and well, when you read it, it should make matters more clear for you, I guess. So again, both SKUs offer the same set of functionality, which is quite crucial to understand. And another thing with System Center 2012 licenses is that you only pay licenses for the managed endpoints. So you don't need to license your management service anymore. However, there's one caveat to reckon with. Suppose you're running 2 to 4 System Center management service for operations management, for instance, and you want to manage those servers by orchestrator as well. At that moment, those very same management servers become endpoints for orchestrator as well. And from then on, you need to license those servers as well. But that's just a small thing compared to the proper or the previous licensing model, which was way too hard to understand, and always stayed away from it, because no matter what I said to the customer, it was always wrong. So, and frustrating as well. And again, System Center 2012 license cover all components. So Operations Manager, Service Manager, Configuration Manager, App Control, Orchestrator, Data Protection Manager, and Virtual Machine Manager 2012. And again, no more difference in service roles and features. And so think about it when you start designing a new environment based on Windows Server 2012. That may impact the cost, the license cost significantly. Well, and another thing is with Service Pack 1 for System Center 2012, full support for SQL Server 2012 up to Service Pack 1, and Windows Server 2012 are introduced, which is quite something. But there is one exception, which is for the Service Manager, Self-Service Portal, SharePoint web parts. I'm not a Service Manager specialist myself, but I know this caveat, so I put it in my slides so you can keep it in your mind, in the back of your mind. And this is also one of the main reasons why Service Pack 1 for System Center 2012 came out so fast. They needed the full-blown support for Windows Server 2012 in order to enable the private cloud or the cloud toolbox, for which System Center 2012 plays a significant role. However, when the RTM edition came out, there wasn't full support. For instance, VMM didn't support the new features found in Hyper-V version 3. There were also other things to reckon with. IIS 8 wasn't properly recognized by Operations Manager. So there are quite a few issues, and all these issues have been dealt with in a proper way, I must say. So let's take a step back and not only focus ourselves on Operations Manager, but let's look what Service Pack 1 brings for all the other components which you find in System Center 2012. Virtual Machine Manager is growing up enormously when you look at the development cycle, the push behind it, but also the role it plays into the private cloud proposition by Microsoft. It's enormous. It's a key. It plays a key role in this whole private cloud proposition. And therefore there has been a very big push forward. When you look at Virtual Machine Manager 2012 and compare it to Virtual Machine Manager 2008 R2, it's enormous. The previous version was really a management tool for your virtual machines and your Hyper-V host, but that was about it. But when you look nowadays at Virtual Machine Manager 2012 up to Service Pack 1, it has become a service or an application modeling tooling enabling you to carve up all the resources you find in your data center like compute, storage and networking and present them in a most comprehensive way to your end users so they can use them in order to roll out applications they require. And yes, it's not very easy, it's a tough product to master, but when you do it right, you can save your company a whole lot of money and you can transform your IT shop into a business which helps moving your business forward instead of slowing it down because you need all kinds of requirements to meet. For instance, when people ask for SQL servers, you say, listen, you want a SQL server, that's okay, but think about security. You don't want to find the address list or the credit card numbers of your customers on the street. That is bad news for a company. Perhaps even irreparable damage will happen to your company. So those SQL servers had to be locked down, had to be secured in all kinds of ways. So when a manager asks for a SQL server, yeah, but what kind of SQL server? What kind of functionality? Does it face the internet or is it for internal users? Whatever. Now with Virtual Machine Manager, you're capable to develop your own applications, to build them with IIS, with SQL, and just to lock them down as you require, and you can present that as a private cloud part to your end users. And this manager can say, listen, I need a SQL server, I need IIS functionality, I need a SharePoint port, and they can just roll it out and everything will be taken care of. This is no magic, of course. You need to do all the work which you normally did up front. You have to do it before that. So you have to prepare yourself. And otherwise you cannot prepare or you cannot present the private cloud to the end user. But it enables you to do so. It's really great. When you look at Service Manager, it's also more integrated and targeted at the private cloud. So chargeback reports, private by cost center, so also the integration with SQL Server 2012, Windows Server 2012, support for Windows 8. So much is happening. And for what I've heard is that for Service Manager, a new Exchange connector is being developed. And people expect it to be launched at MMS 2013, which is in about, well, 3.5 weeks. When you look at Orchestrate, quite an achievement as well there, even more tight integration with the cloud, new integration packs, so it's even, the duct tape has become even better for your private cloud proposition. And when you look at the other products, Configuration Manager has changed. It also looking at the cloud, Azure. You can create a distribution point in Azure now, which enables your, when you have a huge company, an enterprise-based company, it allows you to create distribution points outside the boundaries, normal boundaries of your own company, which is quite an achievement. And when you look at App Controller has become the replacement of the self-service portal for VMM. With Service Pack 1, the self-service portal based on IIS has been removed and has been fully replaced by App Controller. And App Controller enables the end users to move their applications from the private cloud to Azure, which is the public cloud, or back. So they can scale out, they can burst at any time when they want to. And last and even a bit least, I must say, is Data Protection Manager. Data Protection Manager did have its promises, did have some special things, special features. Many times see other vendors promising the same features but not delivering them, and Data Protection Manager did. But there are still bugs in it, too many bugs, and those bugs haven't been solved. For instance, or not a bug, but missing features. For instance, when you want to restore a mailbox on a single level, Data Protection Manager won't do that for you. You have to restore everything and then to pick out the mailbox, which is a bad thing. So, personal, in my humble opinion, I think that Data Protection Manager is lagging behind in this whole System Sense 2012 thing, and that it's not getting the attention it should get, which is quite bad. So Data Protection Manager, yes, I've put it in the slide deck, but it's something which has become a disappointment for me. But that's me personally. Well, back to Operations Manager and back to Service Pack 1 for this product. Well, like I already stated, application performance monitoring got way much better. So you have your different type of .NET applications which are discovered now, and when when something is discovered in Operations Manager, it's being monitored. It's also capable of monitoring SharePoint web front-end components, and there's a deep tight integration with Team Foundation Server. And yes, it sounds very good, and I'm implementing it for a company right now, and it really delivers power to it, and the .NET developers are really happy with it. But the downside is when you're already running Operations Manager 2012 and you've got your own customized resolution states in place, Service Pack 1 introduces about 4 to 5 new resolution states, and all related to Team Foundation Server with APM. On itself not a bad thing, but suppose when you already have those customized alert resolutions in place, you end up with 2 of those alert resolutions, which is not good. So that's something Microsoft should have taken more care about and more thought. But it is what it is, and well, there are quite a few blog postings about it, and even some how you can unsupport it, remove those new resolution states as well. But think about it, because it could push your Operations Manager environment into an unsupported configuration mode. So be careful there. Again, full support for Windows Server 2012 and its related services and IS 8, which is very important in relation to APM. And the Unix and Linux support has been extended. Now CentOS, Debian, Ubuntu Server, and Oracle Linux 5 and 6 have been added as well to the mix. Well, and there's more to it, of course. Let me check. And this is really something special. Last year I was at MMS 2012, and there was this special NDA session, and it was about global service monitoring. And what it does actually is allowing companies or enabling companies to use an Azure cloud-based service in order to monitor their websites and their web applications from a customer's perspective. So they can run checks against their websites from servers or places they don't have their own presence, which is quite good. And Microsoft used some of its data centers like Australia, Brazil, some in Europe, Russia, Singapore, Japan, and of course the United States. And there are 2 types of monitoring: web application availability, but also Visual Studio Web Test, enabling to create and run multiple-step authenticated web tests from Azure-based agents. And the good news is that on NMS, Microsoft is giving it way much more giving it way much more attention. So quite a few sessions are about it. So when you are interested in global service monitoring, and you're a software assurance customer, you're entitled to it, so you can use it. I recommend you to go to those sessions because you will learn a lot from it, learn how to configure it, and learn how to use it to its fullest extent. So perhaps now you say, whoa, listen, this is awful, this is very nice. I want to upgrade my environment to Operations Manage 2012 Service Pack 1. Well, it's a good thing, but yes, there are certain things to reckon with. And I want to share them with you so that you won't find yourself in a situation where your environment is wrecked or there's no way back except for the restore, which is quite bad. First and foremost, when you run Operations Manage 2007, cumulative update level 4 or even higher, up to 7, there is no direct upgrade path available to Operations Manage 2012 Service Pack 1. Instead, you go through 2 stages. You move to Operations Manage 2012 RTM, and from there on you move to 2012 Service Pack 1. There's no other way around it. So don't try. I've spoken with certain people and they tried it and they failed, and well, it's not nice. So better stay away from it and just go through the normal path. Also think about Windows Server 2008 R2 Service Pack 1 is the minimum Server OS requirement for Operations Manage 2012 Service Pack 1. In the meanwhile, it's also the maximum supported OS version for SCOM 2007 R2. So sometimes there might be some issues. So also when you want to upgrade from SCOM 2007, also look at what your servers are running. Are they not running 2003? Because many times all the SCOM environments, they can be running server Windows Server 2003 or even SQL Server 2005. And that won't do either because SQL Server 2008 or 2 Service Pack 1 is the minimum SQL Server requirement as well. So there is no support for SQL Server, there's no support for Windows Server 2003. Fix them first. And please take a look. So when you're on Operations Manager 2007 CU4 later and you want to migrate to Windows Server 2012, it's a multi-step process. First you move to Operations Manager 2012 RTM. From 2012 RTM you move to 2012 Service Pack 1, and then you have the modes where the Windows Server 2012 will be supported by Operations Manager. And later on you can even decide to move from SQL Server 2008 R2 to SQL Server 2012. All these upgrade paths have been tested by myself in one or more of my test labs, and I've written down all my experiences and caveats and things to reckon with on my blog. So whenever you find yourself in a situation you want to upgrade, whether it's from SCOM 2007 R2 to 2012 or from 2012 to Service Pack 1, visit my blog and read and learn. It will take about a half an hour up to 2 hours, depending on what your upgrade path is. But it will save you a lot of hassle, will save you a lot of pain, and it will help you to make your planning right. Because, like any other upgrade, preparation is key. So prepare yourself. Don't start clicking because you still have a few hours left before you go home. I've seen situations like that, and you don't want to be there. Really, stay away from it. And last but not least, always stand brand new and shiny. Sometimes you find yourself in an environment and you say, well listen, I'm still running Windows Server 2003, we still have SQL Server 2005 as a backend, we have lessons learned, let's take it and let's start all over again. Many times it can save you lots of money because you don't need the upgrade path at all. You start alongside all over and you transfer from old to new, step by step. But there's another caveat to reckon with, which are your licenses. Suppose you're running VM theme for monitoring VMware or Sufficient, for instance. Always contact them and look with them to what the possibilities are. At the end of the day, they want to sell their software as well, and when you have your customer contracts in place, your support contracts, and you renew them on a yearly basis, they can be quite nice, I must say. I've seen that already a couple of times with other customers, so try it yourself, I would say. So the Service Pack 1 or not the Service Pack 1, there are a couple of things to think about. Service Pack 1 doesn't come as a separate package, which means there is not just a small package, you download it of 300 megabytes or 400 or 500, you click on it and hey, I find myself in a Service Pack 1 situation. No, it doesn't. It comes as a new full-blown installation set. However, there's some intelligence to it, and when you are running it against 2012 environment, will say, hey, you are running 2012. Do you want me to upgrade it for you? So that's quite nice. Again, preparation is key. And update for package 1 for System Center 2012 Service Pack 1 is scheduled for April 2013. Expected launch date is MMS 2013, so be there, I would say. Another thing to reckon with is when you are running the upgrade, it's not on my slide yet, but still I want to share it with you. When you run the upgrade and you run it on the first management server, take your time, because the very first time the upgrade will run, it will upgrade the underlying databases as well. And that may take some time. So suppose you have about 6 or 8 management servers in place and you want to move fast, you can move fast. But only start the upgrade on the first management server, wait until it's finished, and when it's need to reboot it, and when it's back online, everything is okay, you can run the upgrade simultaneously on 3 or 4 management servers, no problem, because it will see the databases are already upgraded, so it won't touch them anymore. But suppose when you are running the upgrade on the first management server, you start it on other management servers as well, they will look at the database, say, hey, it's not changed, because it looked at a couple of records. Those records aren't there because they're put in place at the end of the upgrade process, and they will start all over again. And that might wreck your environment. So stay away from scenarios like this. So point 4, when having Operations Man 2012 RTM in place, it's just a good idea to move to Service Pack 1, because Microsoft is putting many resources into it. The budgets are really big, and I don't think that Service Pack 1 is the end station of Operations Management. There's way much more to come. So it's better to stay in the race and to upgrade it on your convenience, but please plan it and prepare it, but upgrade, and don't stay away from it. And when you have Operation Man 2007 R2 in place, more planning and preparations are required. And also write yourself a small business case. Make a comparison in costs when you run an in-place upgrade or when you start an alongside scenario. And you might find yourself in a situation that an alongside scenario is cheaper. And also when having the licenses, why not use them? Yes, System Center 2012 has become more expensive compared to the previous products, that's true, but when you put in more Operations or System Center 2012 components, it will lower the price significantly as well. So when you have the licenses in place, just use them, because you have already spent the money. And this was my session on my slide deck, all about the Service Pack 1 and the white paper. And now it's time for questions, and already thank you very much for your attention. Rob, is there something coming in?
I see one question here about a rumor that in-place upgrade is not supported in production.
An in-place upgrade from 2012 to Service Pack 1 is definitely supported in production, yes. And also an in-place upgrade from SCOM 2007 R2 CU4 or up to CU7 to 2012 RTM and to 2012 Service Pack 1 is supported, yes. When you, a small detail, however, this is for Operations Manager. When you look at Virtual Machine Manager 2012 to 2012 Service Pack 1, it requires Windows Server 2012 as the server operating system where the management servers are installed on. However, Windows Server 2012 isn't supported for Virtual Machine Manager 2012 RTM. So in this case, this kind of scenario, you have to remove Virtual Machine Manager from those servers, but keep the database, don't remove it. You will be asked for it during the removal process, and keep those databases in place. Then you can upgrade those servers to Windows Server 2012. Then you can reinstall Virtual Machine Manager management servers and connect to the old database, and everything you had is back.
Great. I see another question here. What is a roll-up to a service pack supposed to provide, and can you just get an all-inclusive service pack 1 inclusive of the roll-up?
No, you have the Service Pack 1, and the Service Pack 1 is a full-blown installation set of Operations Manager 2012 Service Pack 1, and the update roll-up comes after it, but it won't be integrated into a full-blown installation media set.
Great. Another question here about multi-homing. If you can explain how multi-homing, I assume they mean between 2007 and 2012 if you're doing an in-place upgrade.
Yes. Multi-homing is still functional. An agent can communicate with 4 different management groups. However, a SCOM 2007 agent won't be able to communicate with SCOM 2012 management group. On the other hand, a SCOM 2012 agent is backwards compatible and is capable to communicate with a SCOM 2007 environment. So whenever you're running an in-place upgrade, the first thing you start to do is to upgrade your agents. So you bring those agents to the 2012 level, and from there on you move forwards with your upgrade process of Operations Manager.
Great. I think that answers the next question too, which was referring to 2007 and 2012 running at the same time. So that's great. So let's just give it a few more minutes. If anybody has any other questions, just to submit them to the Q&A window. So we'll just hold off a few more minutes to see if there's any more questions. Sorry, Mark, if you can repeat the answer. So the question was, the customer is currently running SCOM 2007 R2.
Yes.
They want to run it in parallel with 2012 SP1, basically ensure that 2012 is all good, and then eventually shut down the 2007 environment.
All right. So what they want to do is actually to build themselves a new management group. So it's actually a alongside scenario they're opting for. And they want those agents to communicate with Operations Manager 2007 as well. And that's quite easy. All they have to do is to push those agents, 2012 agents that is, to those servers, and they will replace the SCOM 2007 agents, and those agents will become multi-homed by themselves. They will talk with the 2012 environment, and they will talk with the 2007 environment.
Another one here, I believe the answer is yes. It says I'm told that I can upgrade VMM and DPM to SP1 outside of Ops Manager.
I don't understand that question completely, Rob. Can you?
I think he's asking if he can upgrade VMM and Data Protection Manager independently from Ops Manager, which I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. These are different products, so they can be upgraded separately.
One more question here. What is the best way to decommission the old SCOM servers after you have SCOM 2012 in place?
It depends on it. Actually, when you run an in-place upgrade and your upgrade path is done, you won't find any 2007 servers anymore because they have all been upgraded. However, when you're running in an alongside scenario and you want to use the multi-homed agents option, then you have still a full-blown SCOM 2007 environment in place. And at that moment, you have to move to backwards, what I always call like that, because first of all, you've got to change those multi-homed agents back to single-homed that they only communicate with your Operations Manager 2012 environment. The good thing is that there's an API for it, which is enclosed into the agent, and with some VB scripting or in PowerShell, you can change the multi-homing aspect of an agent and change it to a single homed agent so that it only communicates with the SCOM 2012 management group. And by my best of knowledge and remembrance, Premier Field Engineer Kevin Holman has written some postings about it. You can find it on his blog, and also in the book SCOM 2012 Unleashed, for which I wrote a chapter. There's also a part about how those agents can be changed by using the API.
Perfect. Another question here. I think you've indirectly already answered. Currently running Ops Manager 2012 in a Windows 2008 R2 environment, is it recommended to upgrade all systems to Windows Server 2012 and then install Ops Manager 2012 with SP1? And I think that they're going to have to upgrade to Ops Manager 2012 SP1 first to get support for Windows Server 2012 and then look at upgrading their systems to Windows Server 2012.
First, you have to move to System Center Service Pack 1 for Operations Manager.
Yep.
And then you can run. Then you can upgrade to Windows Server 2012. Simply because Windows Server 2012 isn't supported as a server operating system platform for any management server role in Operations Manager.
Perfect, thanks. Here's a good question. Will all the 2007 R2 MPs work with 2012?
Yeah, well, I had this question before, and yes, many, or better, all these management packs will work with 2012. When you look at RMS, it is removed, but the first management server you install hosts the RMS emulator role. So especially for management packs with backwards compatibility issues requiring RMS. So yes, the 2007 management packs will run on SCOM 2012.
Okay, I think we've captured all the questions. So thanks a lot, Marnix, and thanks for everyone attending. And I do know we have recorded this session, and we will make it available to everyone afterwards. So stay tuned for a follow-up from Civision to provide a link to that recording.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Well, thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.